I think there always was a special attitude towards a writer in Russia, and now too it's a sort of prophet. It's not only a person who tells the story. He's something more than a writer. He must be a philosopher, a politic, an expert in every field of life.
På 1800-tallet skrev de russiske mesterne store mursteinsromaner som skildret deres samtid. Dagens forfattere derimot skriver dystre romaner om fremtidens Russland. Hvorfor?
В этом смысле, конечно, Россия – это такой подарок для писателя. Вот достаточно жить просто здесь, чтобы постоянно сталкиваться с гротеском, с мифами, с невероятными ситуациями совершенно.
Russia's present gives an illusion of stability. But in fact, the stability relies on so many hidden conflicts. That's a very fragile balance of lots of vectors that would or could rip Russia apart.
Парадокс в том еще, что за последние, я думаю, что лет 20 нет реалистичного романа, который хорошо бы описал современность. Это вот, то есть ее описывали только языком фантастики или гротеска.
Og en av dem som har gjort dette best 34 år gamle Dmитрий Глуховский.
Close this heavy door. Bow.
Hans debutroman fra 2005 ble et internasjonalt fenomen. Metro 2033 en framtidstriller fra et Moskva lagt i ruiner av atomkrig. Boka oversatt til 30 språk, filmrettighetene kjøpt opp, og dataspillet basert på boka populært verden over.
My name is Artyom. For 20 years, the Moscow Metro has been our prison. Our fortress, our home. I was destined to live out my life here. I was destined to die here.
Of course that we're in the metro is because your book 2033 is all in the metro. And how did you get this idea?
Well, I guess I got this idea from my personal life because I used to take daily rides on the subway since I was a school kid from the age of 10. And then after spending 6 years in that way, I just learned from newspaper, it was after perestroika came in, that the subway of Moscow is not what it seems to be. It's not what it looks like. It's not the transport infrastructure, but that's the world's biggest nuclear shelter, bomb shelter. And that stations are in fact bunkers. And behind the walls, there are like hidden tunnels and passages and more bunkers. And then when a nuclear war happens, the subway of Moscow will become the new day's Noah's Ark, saving as many human lives as possible. And then I was just...
This was planned from the government?
Yes, because the biggest part of the subway of Moscow was engineered, planned and constructed during the Stalin's times, following the World War II and all the trauma after the German bombings. And so they actually constructed the subway of Moscow. And that was the beginning of nuclear paranoia, the beginning of arms race. Yeah. And so they did plan, engineer and construct the subway of Moscow as a nuclear shelter that would save lives of as many Muscovites and Russian civilians as possible.
Yeah. So this sparked your imagination?
That sparked my imagination, yes. And added to that, I'm of course a kid whose childhood was the factual arms race, the Strategic Defense Initiative, and by the time when the Soviet Union and the States were competing, pumping out their nuclear muscle. And so it was a bit of imagination taking this into the subway of Moscow. What if all comes real?
So if you and I were characters in your book, can you describe sort of what kind of world would we find at the end of each of these stations?
Down there, several dozens of thousands of survivors could or are trying to establish normal life. They would plant mushrooms that do not need sunlight or rainwater, and they would raise pigs that would eat those mushrooms, and they would eat the pigs and the mushrooms. They would use the old Soviet-made air filters to filter off the radiated particles from the air, and they would use artesian wells that are actually built inside of stations of Moscow Metro to get some clean water. And they would establish lots of societies and city-states to live in.
Yeah.
So every station becomes a city-state.
A city-state, yeah.
And then every state, like station-state, has its own ideology or even religion. So there are stations inhabited by communist regimes, neo-Nazi regimes, liberal democratic states, and then some religious sects, and they're all rivaling with each other. And all in all, it's kind of a model of Russia today, and especially 10 years ago, and of the world itself, because there is no other world left.
When I read your book, it felt really like a fantasy, but when you're talking about the Moscow subway station now, it feels quite realistic, actually, that this could happen.
I do not think of Metro 2033 as of a sci-fi or a fantasy.
No?
It's definitely a dystopia. That's an analysis of the Russian society under certain circumstances.
Alisa Ganieva representerer noe helt nytt i russisk litteratur. En litterær stemme fra Kaukasus som attpåtil er kvinne. Opprinnelig litteraturanmelder entret hun den litterære scenen med et smell da hun deltok i en novellekonkurranse for debutanter og gikk av med seieren blant 70 000 bidrag.
This is a boy whose name is Gula Hirachev. That was my male pen name, male pseudonym, which I used when I sent my first manuscript to the competition of debut prize for young writers. My true personality was revealed only during the awarding ceremony. And the reaction was very diverse. Some people were really struck and shocked, and they abused me of this falsehood, but others were really amazed.
28-åringen bor og jobber i Moskva, men er opprinnelig fra delrepublikken Dagestan i Kaukasus.
So you're born after the dissolution of the Soviet
I was born in
Union?
1985.
Yeah,
It was
so-
before.
So
Some years before.
Yeah, some years before. So,
During Perestroika.
But you basically remember very little of it, you think?
I remember some parades and some discussions and mass meetings on the square of capital of Dagestan, Makhachkala. My father was one of the leaders of the local democratic movement that time, and sometimes he took me with him to those meetings. So I remember I was myself keen on Lenin and communist ideology because we were fed with it in kindergarten. And I thought that Lenin is something like Father Frost who will come sometime and give me some presents, and that he's so kind. But when I was 6, my parents took me to Moscow for the first time in my life, and we visited Mausoleum, and I saw this angry, pale face, so I was disappointed very much.
Could you say something about why you became a writer?
I couldn't do otherwise. I began as a literary critic, and I was waiting for some new writer from Caucasus who would depict that very interesting artistical life, but he didn't appear, and I had to create him by myself.
Ganieva skildrer med presis penn den brokete, multietniske virkeligheten i Dagestan. En republikk russere ellers mest forbinder med terror og fundamentalisme.
Some writers in Russia who write dystopias about indefinite future in Russia, they describe Russia without other ethnic groups, the narrowed Russia, populated only by Russians by origin. I think it's a ruinous scenario. We have to collaborate with each other, and I'm trying to approach this collaboration with my books.
Yeah, and how do you do that?
I'm just describing this life behind this information wall between Caucasus and Russia, because usually writers of nowadays Russia, they write about Caucasus only from the soldier's point of view, and everyday routine life is absolutely unknown and exotic. And I'm trying to show this controversial world with crowded weddings, religious wrangles, and relic craftspeople, and these ancient turrets and nightclubs and everything in this contradictory whirlwind. And I just show it. It's a sort of mirror, and for many people it's a real revelation.
Novellene om dagliglivet i Dagestan har likevel provosert både konservative dagestanere og russiske nasjonalister. Forholdet mellom Republikken Dagestan og Russland ellers er anstrengt, og i sin siste bok skildrer Ganieva et mulig framtidig scenario for Kaukasus.
For example, my second book, Holiday Mountain, is about accidental separation of Caucasus from Russia. It's dystopia also, but I prefer to think that it is a book about today's life.
And why do you think it's realistic and not futuristic? Because it's about a wall between Caucasus and Russia, right? So it seems like something in the future and something not real.
But unfortunately, we already have this symbolic wall between Caucasus and Russia, and the real wall can be created every day, today or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And many people from different points of view and different groups, including communists, liberal, democratical politics and others, they choose this scenario as a preferable one.
To build a wall?
Yes.
Really?
Lots of experts, they vote for excluding Caucasus from Russia. But I think this decision is very ruinous.
Mens Ganieva skildrer en fremtidig mur som stenger Kaukasus ute fra resten av Russland, dikter vår neste forfatter opp en enda større mur mellom Russland og resten av verden.
Vladimir Sorokin begynte sin karriere som del av et avantgardistisk forfattermiljø på 80-tallet, og måtte utgi bøkene sin i Paris.
Hello, this is from Norwegian television.
I dag anses han derimot som en av de mest markante russiske stemmene, og har fått hus i en statlig forfatterlandsby. Sorokin har skrevet en rekke bøker, teaterstykker og filmmanus. Han er nærmest en guru i hjemlandet, og for utlendinger som vil forstå Russland. Han mener at en russisk mur mot verden slett ikke er fri fantasi.
Путин постоянно цитировал Александра III, который говорил, что в России есть лишь два союзника. Это ее армия и флот. Нам не нужен ни Запад, ни Восток. Вот надо отгородиться. The Great Russian Wall, да? Тогда бы Россия погрузилась вот в православие и в прошлое.
I romanen En oppritsjniks dag forestiller Sorokin seg et slikt isolert Russland. Han gjenoppliver Ivan den grusommes hemmelige politi, oppritsjnikene, som myrda og voldtok på tsarens ordre. Men i romanen er handlingen lagt fram i tid til år 2028. En høyteknologisk verden, men med et styresett fra 1500-tallet.
Опричники живы до сих пор, собственно. Но и ментальность эта жива, да? Но сейчас они ездят не на лошадях, а на мерседесах. Если говорить там о полиции и о силовых структурах, то все они чувствуют себя опричниками, конечно. Поэтому, собственно, они так коррумпированы и часто совершают преступления, собственно, потому что каждый из них чувствует себя отдельным человеком уже, собственно. Но это как некая бацилла, да? Вот стоит как бы человеку попасть во власть, как он ей заболевает этой чумой, собственно, опричной. На этом держится наше государство практически.
Da Sorokin ga ut en opprichningsdag i 2006, ble den lest som en satirisk komedie, uten særlig rot i virkeligheten. Siden den gang har myndighetene strammet grepet om sivilsamfunnet, blant annet med den nye homoloven i 2013.
Вот, и уже общее место, да, если там выходит какой-то идиотский закон, так сказать, очередной, и приятель какой-нибудь звонит, говорит: о, это у тебя как в опричнике. Я говорю: ну да, конечно. Да, это... И как литератор я, конечно, доволен, но как гражданин я не очень доволен, так сказать. Здесь сгущается очень тяжелая атмосфера, на самом деле. И я повторяю, что это напоминает мне вот 84-й год, времена Черненко, там, Андропова, вот эти годы, когда уже, собственно, когда система начинала... Ну, то есть уже гниение было такое, что уже тяжело было дышать. Гниение, собственно, оно идет и нарастает такая паранойя и у власти, и внизу, собственно. Ну, то есть власть начинает бояться как бы народу собственного, да, и ей мерещатся там заговоры, враги. Вот. А народ начинает бояться власти, собственно. И вот это довольно тяжелая атмосфера.
Я таких еще наглых, бессовестных воров, как Путин, Медведев и его шайка, 400 депутатов, бандитов, которые никому за 20 лет не помогли, ни одному человеку. Я их презираю, я их проклинаю, и я хочу, чтобы их отдали, молодежь, чтобы собралась и отдали под суд.
Russiske forfattere politisk engasjerte. Men få prøver å gripe dagens russiske samfunn litterært, slik de skjeggete mestrene gjorde på 1800- og 1900-tallet. Den største trenden nå dystopien. Mørke fantasier om framtidens Russland.
A book author in Russia is regarded as a sort of an oracle, somebody who knows the truth about the human nature, about this world, about the future and the past.
I think writing dystopias in Russia, it's a sort of substitution, because you speak about evils of present day, but you transfer this to some future.
Because I would say that the current authorities of Russia are doing not too big thing to help Russia become a modern state, a federal state that would sustain itself, that would delegate power to people and to local authorities, that will help Russia develop from within and not in an obsolete way of a feudal state that is actually now.
Do you see it as part of your responsibility to help craft the new Russian identity? Because I guess it's still being...
I don't think so, no, I'm not as pathetic as that. I'm just trying to express what I feel as a part of this generation.
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions, I don't have answers.
It still seems in the book that you point to that some of the answers people are finding are wrong, like neo-Nazism, like the revival of communism.
Basically, all ideologies are wrong. Every ideology is oversimplification of reality. All ideology is an attempt to sort the facts of reality and the parts of reality in a way that suits an idea. And ideas that drive, ideas do not exist. People invent ideas to manipulate other people, basically, or to achieve certain goals, to motivate other people. And then they arrange reality in a way that suits ideology. They ignore the facts that contravene it, and they over-represent the facts that support the idea or ideology. Well, I think a reason why Metro 2033 is a post-apocalyptic novel is because Russia in the 90s was a post-apocalyptic country, a weird formation dwelling on the ruins of a great empire, a weird ideology assembled from the ruins of an old ideology. And then generations over generations of people who were born in this ideology were left with debris, with nothing, with ruins. And they had this ideological hangover after the generations of their fathers and grandfathers drank too much of communism. But the new generation, those who are in their teens now, they're looking for ideologies again, and they're quite easy prey for all kinds of extremism. And that's a new trend.
Ну, если говорить о последних последнем десятилетии, то Россия так медленно, как такая огромная льдина, да, piece of ice, да, такая tremendous piece of ice, да. Медленно она плывет в свое прошлое. Вот. Сейчас она где-то в советском прошлом. Но уже, собственно, видно и виден уже и 16 век, собственно, и 17.
Russland post-Sovjet et enormt rike med en omfattende identitetskrise. Både ideologisk og geografisk.
When I first came into Moscow, my acquaintances kept asking about currency in Dagestan. They didn't know that Dagestan is a part of Russia. And it's really strange because Russia is a huge country and many people populating Russia, they don't know about the boundaries of their country. And it is very important to know each other, to know about yourself. And maybe this is the main tragedy, that we have lost the previous national idea and we haven't gained another one.
Этими идолами становится богатство, наслаждение, потребление, власть, деньги.
Det å arrangere OL har jo vært samlende for folket både i Norge og Kina. Så man skulle tro at nettopp det kunne være en god idé for Russland i dag.
This is maybe very boring questions for you, but it's about the Olympics.
Нет, это не скучный вопрос, на самом деле, нет. Опасением и тревогой жду Олимпиады. Советский Союз стал разрушаться после того, как прошла Олимпиада. Я помню очень хорошо, когда Москва, мне было тогда 25 лет, Москва была не похожа вообще на Москву. Она была абсолютно пустой, потому что, так сказать, этот город сделали закрытым.
Mange opposisjonelle og folk som drikker seg full på åpen gate, anholdt eller flyttet ut av byen. Barnehagene flyttet på landet, og de fleste ungdommer også borte fra Moskva. I løpet av de siste dager har man gått ut med advarsel mot å ha for god kontakt med de vestlige turister, pressefolk og andre som kommer til OL. Det kan være farlig.
После 80-го года вот экономическая ситуация в СССР стала с каждым годом ухудшаться. Многие люди просто с большим опасением думают об Олимпиаде в Сочи, потому что после нее может начаться что-то не очень хорошее.
So the Olympics in Sochi, are you looking forward to that?
No, at all.
Not at all?
No, I'm disgusted.
I was an Olympic torchbearer.
You were?
Yeah.
Put it on.
Yeah.
They try to use it as a national idea. Russia doesn't have a national idea. That's the biggest tragedy. They tried to use Sochi and the Russian victory and the Olympic bid for Sochi as some positive idea that would unite people, that would give the people pride for the nation.
Такая финансовая воронка, куда уже втянуло очень много денег, собственно, да, и там чудовищная коррупция, это обычное, это вы знаете.
Yeah, I ran across Leo Tolstoy's estate, Yasnaya Polyana, with a number of Russian writers. So after we have run with tortures, some other writers began accusing us of supporting Putin with our tortures. But I think we were running in the sake of international peace, but not in the sake of some authorities.
Я туда не поеду, конечно.
И вы будете посмотреть на телевидении?
Ну да. Ну что ж, посмотрим, что будет. Да. В общем, мы живем в очень интересное время. Да.
På nrk.no finner du mer stoff om våre 3 russiske forfattere og flere lesetips. Følg med Kulturstripa på torsdag. Da byr Filmbonanza på russisk film.
This is a fight over one of the fastest growing, and largest markets in the world.